20 things. 20 pieces of everyday American life that quietly vanished, and most of us never even said goodbye. If you're over 30, at least 5 of these are going to hit you harder than you expect.
There are moments in history when the world changes so gradually that people hardly notice it happening. A familiar street becomes quieter. A neighborhood store closes its doors for the last time. A machine that once sat in every home becomes something found only in museums and antique shops. And one day, we look back and realize that an entire way of life has disappeared. There was a time when people knew their neighbors by name, when children spent long summer evenings outside until the streetlights came on, when a trip to the local store meant a conversation, not just a transaction. Families gathered around one television. Important photographs were carefully saved. Directions were written on paper maps. Music was something you held in your hands. Life moved at a different pace. Not necessarily better, not necessarily easier, but different. Today, the History Lantern shines a light on 20 things that disappeared from ordinary American life. The places, objects, traditions, and experiences that shaped generations. Chapter 1. When communities were built differently. For much of the 20th century, many American communities were built around shared spaces. Before large shopping centers and online stores changed the way people purchased goods, towns often had a central gathering place known simply as Main Street. Main Street was more than a road. It was where people went to buy groceries, visit the bank, get a haircut, repair their shoes, read the newspaper, or simply see familiar faces. A town's identity was often reflected in its downtown. The businesses were usually owned by local families. The people behind the counters were not strangers, they were neighbors. A store owner might know which products a customer preferred. A restaurant owner might know a family's favorite table. A shopkeeper might ask about someone's children or remember an important anniversary. These small interactions created something that was difficult to measure but easy to feel, a sense of belonging. After World War II, however, America began to change rapidly. Millions of families moved to growing suburbs. Automobiles became central to everyday life. New highways connected communities in ways that had never been possible before. Shopping also began to change. Instead of walking downtown, many families drove to large shopping centers designed around convenience and parking. These new places offered advantages, more choices, lower prices, and easier shopping. But something else changed as well. The casual conversations that once happened on sidewalks, in small stores, and on neighborhood streets became less common. Many main streets did not disappear completely. Some adapted and survived. Others became quieter reminders of another era. But for millions of Americans, the old downtown experience became a memory of a time when a town was not just a collection of buildings, it was a community. And the same story would soon happen to many other places where people once gathered. The family grocery store. For generations, the neighborhood grocery store was one of the most familiar places in American life. Long before supermarkets filled enormous buildings with thousands of products, many communities depended on small local stores, where the owner knew the customers personally. A child might walk in with a few coins to buy a treat. A family might stop by after dinner to pick up something they needed. The person behind the counter was often someone the neighborhood knew well. These stores were not only places to buy food, they were places where relationships were built. The grocer knew which families had moved into town. They knew which customers preferred certain products. They often knew the stories behind the people who walked through the door. But after the middle of the 20th century, shopping began to transform. Large supermarkets offered something small stores could rarely match: enormous selection, lower prices, and the convenience of finding everything in one place. For many families, this was a welcome change. But as supermarkets grew, thousands of small neighborhood stores slowly disappeared. The shelves were replaced by larger aisles. Personal conversations became less common. The simple experience of knowing the person who served you became something many people only remembered. The drive-in theater. Few places captured the feeling of mid-century America quite like the drive-in theater. Beginning in the 1950s, drive-ins became a symbol of family entertainment, teenage freedom, and American car culture. A night at the drive-in was more than watching a movie. Families packed snacks into the car. Children wore pajamas and fell asleep in the back seat. Teenagers met friends under the glow of a giant outdoor screen. The automobile itself became part of the experience. People could enjoy a movie while sitting in the comfort of their own cars, creating a unique combination of privacy and community. At their peak, drive-in theaters could be found across the country. But over time, the world around them changed. Television brought entertainment into the home. Later, video rentals and streaming services transformed the way people watched movies. Many drive-in locations also sat on valuable land that became attractive for new developments. Slowly, the giant screens that once lit up the night sky began to disappear. Today, a few drive-ins continue to operate, preserving a piece of that era. But for many people, the memory remains stronger than the place itself. The downtown department store. For much of the 20th century, a trip to the department store was an event. Stores like Sears, Montgomery Ward, and countless regional department stores were not simply places to shop. They were landmarks. Families visited them for clothing, appliances, toys, furniture, and holiday traditions. Children looked forward to seeing Christmas displays. Parents searched through catalogs. Communities gathered in downtown shopping districts during weekends and special occasions. A department store represented progress and possibility. It was a place where people could imagine a different future. But shopping habits began to change. Suburban malls attracted customers away from traditional downtown areas. Later, online shopping changed expectations completely. The convenience was undeniable. A person could buy almost anything without leaving home. But something was lost in the process. The experience of walking through a decorated store window. The excitement of visiting a place that was part of the community, the memories attached to ordinary shopping trips. The department store was never just about buying things. It was about the moments that happened along the way. The neighborhood diner. Few places represented everyday connection better than the neighborhood diner. A diner was often a place where everyone belonged. Workers stopped by for breakfast. Families shared meals. Regular customers sat in the same seats and were greeted by familiar faces. The menu was simple: coffee, sandwiches, breakfast, and comfort food. But the real attraction was the atmosphere. People came not only for the food, but for the conversation. As lifestyles changed, many independent diners struggled to survive. Fast food chains expanded. Real estate became more expensive. Communities became more spread out. Many diners disappeared. Yet those that remain often carry something special. They preserve the feeling of a slower world, a place where a cup of coffee could become a conversation, and where a stranger could become a familiar face. Because the places we lost were never only about buildings, they were about human connection.
The rotary telephone. For much of the 20th century, the telephone was a powerful symbol of connection. But unlike today, communication was not something people carried with them everywhere. The telephone had a specific place in the home. Often sitting in a hallway, kitchen, or living room, it became part of the household routine. When the phone rang, everyone knew something important might be happening. A friend was calling, a family member had news, someone wanted to share a story. Rotary phones required patience. To dial a number, each digit had to be carefully moved around the circular dial. There were no saved contacts, no instant messages, and no constant notifications. People remembered phone numbers. They planned conversations. They gave each other their full attention. Over time, technology transformed communication. Touch-tone phones made calling faster. Mobile phones made communication portable. Smartphones eventually placed the entire world in our hands. The convenience was extraordinary, but many people remember something different about the old telephone. It was not just a device, it was a doorway to a conversation. The encyclopedia set for many families, a set of encyclopedias represented knowledge itself. A collection of large, carefully arranged books often occupied a special place in the home. Children used them for school projects.
Parents used them to answer questions. Families explored topics ranging from science and history to geography and literature. Before the internet, finding information required effort. You searched through pages, you followed references, you discovered unexpected things along the way. Learning was a physical experience. The arrival of the internet completely transformed access to information. Instead of searching through volumes of books, people could find answers within seconds. The change was revolutionary, but the encyclopedia remains a powerful symbol of an earlier relationship with knowledge, one where curiosity often began by opening a book. The film camera before digital photography. Taking a photograph required thought. A roll of film had a limited number of pictures. Each photograph mattered. People did not take hundreds of images of ordinary moments. They carefully chose what was worth remembering: a birthday party, a family vacation, a special celebration. After taking the photographs, people waited for the film to be developed. Days or even weeks could pass before they discovered the final images. That waiting created anticipation. The arrival of digital cameras and smartphones changed everything. Today, people can capture thousands of moments instantly. Photography has become easier and more accessible than ever before. But many people still appreciate the feeling of holding an old photograph, a physical reminder of a single moment frozen in time. The record store music has always been connected to memory. For generations, discovering music meant visiting a record store. People searched through shelves, read album covers, talked with employees, and discovered artists through recommendations. Buying an album was an experience. The artwork, the packaging, and the physical object were all part of the connection. Later, cassette tapes and CDs changed the way people listened to music. Then digital downloads and streaming services transformed the industry completely. Today, millions of songs are available instantly. Music has never been easier to access, but many people remember the excitement of walking into a store and finding something unexpected. The journey of discovery was part of the music itself. The paper map. Before GPS and smartphone navigation, traveling required preparation. People studied maps before long journeys. They marked routes, searched for landmarks, and sometimes stopped to ask strangers for directions. A road trip was not guided by a digital voice. It was guided by attention and observation. Maps were more than tools. They represented adventure. A folded road map carried memories of family vacations, unfamiliar highways, and places waiting to be discovered. Modern navigation has made travel easier and safer, but the old paper map represents something many people still value: the feeling of exploring a world that was not completely mapped out for you. These objects may seem ordinary today: a phone, a book, a camera, a record, a map. But ordinary objects often reveal the most about how people lived. They show what people valued, how they connected, and how they experienced the world around them. And as technology continued to advance, the biggest changes were not only found in the objects people used, they were found in the way people spent their everyday lives.
If stories like this mean something to you, hit subscribe. The History Lantern brings you a new piece of forgotten history every week.